Evan Engram exclusive interview thanks to our new official member, Bennie Fowler, and we're diving into all of this on an awesome show. You're not going to want to miss this interview, and it all starts now. It's official, Bennie and the boys on today's DNVR Broncos podcast, live from the Toyota Lounge, driven by your local Front Range Toyota stores. And we have an awesome show today. But maybe even more important and cooler than that, we've got an awesome announcement. Our guy, Bennie Fowler, officially joining us. And Bennie is going to be bringing the coolest, best content. So, Bennie, we are so pumped to officially welcome you to DNVR Broncos podcast.
Well, man, I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to just future conversations, the fact that we could talk about Broncos football every single week, a city that means a lot to me, a team that means a lot to me, and talking about just this team and this team getting back to the prominence it had when I first joined or when I was a rookie. So I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited about some of the exclusive interviews that we're going to have, some of the things that we're going to talk about, film breakdowns, and just overall talking about Broncos football in a positive light and sharing stories and content with the folks out there with Broncos country.
Yeah, no, it's going to be awesome. Hopefully you give us a little luck too. Todd did a good job getting us from like the Hackett season to like a step up the next year to the playoffs last year. But hopefully we keep riding that, and it could be a really fun time.
How about we win this? Let's get to back to winning the AFC West.
Yes,
Let's go.
that would
be
nice. Yeah, that would be. And if you're winning the AFC West, you're definitely Super Bowl contenders at that point.
100%.
And so, Bennie, when we had you on first, 6 weeks ago, a month ago-ish, something like that, we were super excited for that first show. And then after that first show, we're like, oh my God. We just found a gem. We just found a diamond in the rough. This is awesome. We need to have him on as much as we can. So I think you were back every single week since then. And every single time after the shows, we're talking with you. And then also after you left, we're like, he's incredible. We need to get him on. And then the fans in the Toyota chat, the fans on Twitter, the fans everywhere were just like, Bennie's incredible. You got to get him. And so we are so excited to officially announce that you're going to be joining us every single week. And if it was just that, it would have been incredible. But Bennie, you're also doing, we're dropping a new series today called The Player's Perspective with Bennie Fowler, where you're going to have interviews with former players, current players, everyone that people want to hear for in the Broncos world. And you have recorded your first one, which we are going to play on this show at the beginning of the second segment. So stay tuned, just a couple minutes away. And not only did you land Evan Engram, but it is one of the best interviews I've heard. It is so amazing. So you're going to bring that. You're going to be on the show. You're also going to be doing some film breakdown. And I mean, just what you're bringing is so cool. We love it. And I know the fans are just going to go crazy for it.
Yeah, I think, being a part of this team, you guys make it fun. You guys make it easy. Like we're talking about something that we're passionate about and something that we love. And we're also giving something to the fans. And I think we're always have to be in a place of service. So for the fans out there that are watching this right now or that will be watching this later, let us know what you would like to see from the player's perspective, whether it's an interview with a current player, former player, and then also doing the film breakdown, which I think is going to be super exciting, where we can actually dive into not necessarily the quarterback perspective of things. I think that takes, a quarterback eye. Now, we can play Monday morning quarterback, but from the receiver perspective. So we'll be breaking down some of the receivers. We'll break down Marvin Mims. I know that was in the chat the last time. So we can break down some of my favorite plays from him and why I'm excited about him. Also, why Sean is really excited about the receiver room. So we'll go through all the receivers, break down some of their film, why Broncos country should be excited, and then what we expect. And then, we'll have some exclusive interviews, some one-on-ones, and then, you know, just some of us having fun and just looking at different film, and then some stuff just from around the league. And how do we close that gap in the AFC West, and where does our roster continue to go?
I love it. I love it. And,
Yep.
and one of the things that you talk about is that receiver perspective and expertise that you have. And over these next 14 days, that's a massive conversation with the Broncos, with them having Luther Burden in the building, Matthew Golden as well. And they're interested in first-round wide receivers potentially. And actually, we got a couple of minutes before we play this interview, so let's just dive in right there. We're doing our 15 and 15. And let's touch on a receiver and get your perspective on Matthew Golden, because this is a guy that I know Henry and RK love. And Henry, am I wrong to say it would be almost a dream pick for you?
Almost. We can give almost.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Almost
Yep.
a dream
What
pick
would
for
make
you.
it a dream pick?
I think so. Right now, I'd say so. Obviously, you get Travis and Genti. Like, there's a couple guys at the top. After that, those defensive linemen are insane. Like, I think snagging one of them would be a steal. But then if you can't get one of those, you can't get T-Mac, then Golden or Egbuka are probably next up for me.
Okay.
So he'd be
Yeah.
an A pick for you, though. Like
Yeah.
a grade A pick.
A minus, yeah.
A
Where
minus.
does he fit into the receiver room? He's got a similar body type as Mims.
Yeah.
Both super, you know, the super burners. I guess, you know, we do have some bigger receivers. You got Vele, you got Cortland, now you got Evan / tight end, you know, bigger body tight end, but also could play receiver. But yeah, where do you think he fits in the receiver room?
So it's definitely interesting. And I think the tough part is because you have speed in there already. Not only do you have Mims, you also have Troy Franklin. So fitting a third is tough. Golden is the best separator of those three, though, especially in terms of just pure route running. He's one of the very best in this class. And so if you give him the opportunities to catch these short passes, the drags, slants, quick ins, like, I think that he has the catch and run ability in parts of the field that Mims and Troy Franklin don't have quite yet. You know, for Mims, you're able to find different ways to give him the ball deep, get him the ball behind the line of scrimmage, and kind of let him work. Franklin, you're seeing a lot of like the deep stuff, and there were a couple, like they had a touchdown on one of those screens. I think Golden is different in that he provides more in the middle of the field. Now, if the options are him or Emeka Egbuka, who's probably even better at some of those things in some ways, it is a little bit of a tricky fit, but I think that he has a slightly different skill set, and so maybe there's something there.
If they do draft Matthew Golden, why I would be excited about that is that if he was drafted to the Broncos today, he would be the best catcher in the receiver room. He would have the best hands. And if you go look at some of his highlights, if you go look at his tape, he's an all-hands catcher, whether it's on the sideline, down the field. Henry and I were talking before we started the pod. He has incredible hands, and I'm talking about running through the ball. So when I say running through the ball, when you are catching a drag route, which could be at 2 to 3 yards, and you're running through it, you know, Bo throws in the ball, and he doesn't stop to catch the ball. He runs straight through it. Whether it's a slant, like you're talking about, the catch and run ability, that's because he's not afraid of the ball. And when I think about that, you could think about players like a Tyreek Hill. I'm not going to say that he's going to be like Tyreek Hill. Henry and I were also talking about that. Or an Odell Beckham. When you think about catch and run, those guys are hands catchers. They're not catching the ball with their body.
Yeah. Totally.
And he's got incredible hands. So I would be excited about that pick. Question is, where does he fit in the pecking order? You know, Cortland's your guy, Evan's your guy. That does make you really dangerous. Does he become now do you have too many jokers? Evan's your big joker. Now do you have too many jokers in Mims and Golden?
Yep. And I think on top of that, it's almost a bet on Devon Bailey, because he becomes your only other big receiver. And for an offense that's built on those big receivers, you need Cortland Sutton, and you need at least one other guy. That's Devon Bailey, who's going to be lining up in the slot, doing a bunch of blocking. Golden blocks better than you'd expect for somebody his size, but he is still his size. You really need Bailey to pan out. Otherwise, you wind up in a situation where you have a whole bunch of these guys. You've got Court on an expiring deal, and you're kind of missing the guys who Sean Payton has always built offenses around.
Yeah.
So for me, when I'm getting more and more excited about Matthew Golden, the more I hear about him, what you're saying, Henry, what you've said, 4.29 speed on the 40, which I take with a grain of salt because it's not it's not a real football play, but still it's like burning speed right there. He played really good football at the end of last year. He's got the route running ability, he's got the hands. Is the only thing he's missing just the size? Like, does he have everything else?
I don't think he's actually missing the size. I think he's typical NFL receiver size. I mean, we just have big receivers and we're used to big receivers in a Broncos uniform that you think, yeah, you got Cortland or you have Vele or you in the past you had DT, you had bigger guys, Cody, myself, we're 6'2", but no, he's typical receiver size. Odell was 5'11". What is Travis Hunter? 5'11". So when you think about it, Matthew Golden does have the receiver size. And I'm also excited the fact that he was the go-to guy for Texas late in games.
Yeah.
Like, 3rd and 3, we're throwing to him.
Especially late in the year.
Throwing to him, yeah.
Like their hand was kind of forced when Isaiah Bond, who was supposed to be their big receiver this year, and was last year, even with Xavier Worthy on the team. Isaiah Bond was the better receiver. They kept him as like their number one, their first option for most of the season. He gets hurt. They are forced to go to Golden more, and he lives up to everything you could have asked for.
Yeah.
I think it's important. Like, I think that there's enough there because it is a small sample size, and he's a guy, he finished with like 800 and something receiving yards despite playing extra games because of the college football playoff. There are questions about all that. One more thing. People bring up like the speed, and it's like it doesn't really show up on tape. I just want to remind the fans of the DNVR Draft Podcast that when we were talking about the NFL Combine, I said bet on Matthew Golden to run the fastest 40. So the speed was out there. If you're looking for the speed, you can see the speed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm sold on him as a prospect. The only question is, like, where does he fit in? Because Cortland's on the field, right? Evan Ingram's always going to be on the field. Both those guys, you're not taking them off the field. And what I saw from Marvin Mims at the end of last season, personally, I'm saying he's not getting off the field. He's going to be on the field much more than he was last season. So it's just like, okay, are you always going to have 3 receivers on the field plus Evan Engram? So you're always going to have those 4 guys on the field? I believe Sean can work with that.
100%.
But it does make a little bit like, okay, well, who's coming off the field? Because those first 3 guys in my mind, and I think in Sean's mind too, they're not coming off the field.
Well, Sean's a big personnel guy. So,
Exactly.
He likes to play with different personnels. Yep. At the start of the season, I'll never forget week 1 when I played in New Orleans. Sean, we went into the first week of the season with 60 personnels.
Yep.
60 different personnels. And then he'll tailor it down to 50 week after week, and then he'll find his go-to after about midway through the season. So, he does add a lot of personnel. And what you can do, is he worth a first-round pick? I don't know. I think we have other needs. And then I wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos are throwing up smoke screens right now.
Sure.
Because the best thing that you can do right now to help Bo on a rookie deal is surround him with great defensive talent. Maybe we go defense.
Totally.
Well, let's table that conversation because clearly we got a lot to talk about. But let's hear this awesome interview from Bennie Fowler, the player's perspective, the first one with Evan Engram after I give a shout out to our friends over at Coors Light, where it's springtime. It is almost Nuggets and Avs basketball, and we got the Masters this weekend. If you want to chill, there's no better way than with a Coors Light. We got them on set every single day, and Coors Light's all about chilling. Whether it's brewed chilled, whether it's bottled chilled, whether it's served chilled, it's chilled because the mountains on the cans and the bottles turn blue when it's perfectly chilled and ready to go. And you can grab a Coors Light pretty much anywhere at the DNVR bar, pretty much at any liquor store as well. But you can also go to CoorsLight.com/DNVR to get it delivered straight to you. Make the most out of the times you choose to chill by choosing Coors Light. So visit them at CoorsLight.com/DNVR because they're as cold as the Rockies. They're all about Colorado, and we are all about Coors Light. So check them out, CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
And shout out to Volo. I think next week might need to be a big Volo week for me because I am not going to be spending much time not on my couch the next 4 days because of the Masters. I think Lexi was a little bit surprised when my alarm went off at 5:25 this morning to see the honorary first tee.
She's like, oh, you're working out.
Exactly. Yeah. No. She woke up later, went to the gym, came back from the gym, and the whole time I'm just locked in. But again, this is going to be 7-8 hours a day of just watching. And then you still have the Nuggets and the Avs and all that going on. The Rockies. Next week, though, going to be healthy. And if you're trying to be healthy, Volo's the way to go. They make it fun. They've got all sorts of different sports, whether it's soccer, volleyball, kickball, pickleball, basketball, cornhole. So many options all over town. They're for adults. They're social leagues. They got pickup games, different events. Lodo, Rhino, Highland, City Park. If you want to meet people, if you want to stay active, if you want to mix up, you just need something more fun to do. Volo's an option. Players can sign up as a free agent, small group, or full team, and all ability levels and backgrounds are welcome to join. Use DNVR 10 for $10 off any Volo Denver league.
All right, without further ado, let's jump into the first player's perspective. And the thing about this is it was so good that we're only going to play the first half, and then we're going to drop the whole interview after this show ends. But let's get to an incredible half of this interview. I mean, they're both incredible, but let's get to the second half of this interview. It's about 13 minutes long, so I'm going to take this whole segment and just sit back, relax, and enjoy getting to know the newest Denver Bronco, Evan Engram.
You came on a visit. Talk a little bit about the visit. Then you left, went to the Chargers, and then you came back.
Bro, that was like, I honestly felt like I was like in a movie that entire week. That experience was such a blessing. That was really the first time I was truly recruited since coming out of high school. And us football players, that recruitment is big because there's teams, there's these organizations, there's these franchises or institutions that are asking you to bring your talents to that place. I think that that means a lot to me. And so to have such a historic organization like the Denver Broncos to call my phone minutes after I got a pretty surprising kind of bad news about getting let go from Jacksonville, and then obviously the Chargers got involved as well. It was just a great experience. It definitely, at the end of the day, in the middle of all of that, it was truly a win-win situation for me, football-wise. Two great organizations, two great coaching staffs, two great quarterbacks, two great offenses, and it was a really tough decision for me. And I think it really came down to how I really, how things feel to me like naturally. I put a lot of faith in God for him to, lay my path out for me, and I promise I'll stay along that path. There's many times where I want to try to pave my own way and go my own direction, but I've learned in my life that just rarely doesn't ever really work out. So I think just the Denver was up first, and just walking in that building. Were you in New York where Davis Webb was? Davis with us for a little bit?
I had just missed him after training camp. So I joined like week 5 or week 6, but he was with you guys in training camp the year I joined. Yeah.
Yeah. So my boy Webb, man, we got drafted to New York together, and we were tied at the hip in New York. His apartment was right next to mine. We became best friends very, really fast, and did everything together really. And so it was definitely tough when he left the Giants, but we always stayed close. We kept our friendship, going strong, and became a huge fan of his. Just even when he was playing other places, and especially when he became a coach. Him making that transition. And so him being the quarterback coach, he was really the first guy to call me that night I got released. And I guess they gave him the keys to really amp up that recruitment process, because my boy hit me up with a 30-minute just straight bar for bar snapped on what they got going on in Denver, and really got into detail on what the vision that they had for me within that offense. And so that definitely kicked it off. And in the building, he was my tour guide pretty much. I had dinner with George Payton and Coach King and Davis the night before, and then sitting down with Sean, it just felt right. Everything just kind of clicked. Everything just kind of felt like this was the place for me. And so it was crazy experience. It was in Denver, and the contract stuff is a lot harder than I felt like in free agency, you kind of just, open up Twitter or X or whatever, and you just see that the deal is done, and it's all like it's just such this easy thing, man. The contract stuff is very, very challenging, and it is very grueling for agents and players and stuff. So that first day, it didn't work out exactly how we wanted it to. So I got on the plane to the Chargers, and had a great visit with them as well. And like I said, both teams pretty much laid out the red carpet, kind of got that recruiting feel again, which was a blessing.
That's got to feel good.
Man, it's been so long since, shoot, I came out of high school 2013, so it's been super long. Even in high school, my recruitment was very short. Ole Miss called, and it was kind of a wrap. And so,
That was it.
so it was cool. Yeah, pretty much. So it was really cool to, just to feel desired and to, to let my talents really speak for themselves and speaks for itself. So it was super cool. And like I said, I really trust God with, the path for me and, what he has planned for me. And everything felt right with Denver and just super excited about this new beginning and just the excitement that's in the air about the team and, the future and, where we're going. Everything that I've been through in my career and, the wisdom I have now, along with the talent that I bring to the table, it's just a perfect fit.
I love it, man. Take us inside that meeting with Sean. So I had the pleasure of playing for Sean in 2020, and his vision for offense and the way that he actually utilizes personnel. It's something that I saw a little early on in my career with Adam Gase and Coach Kubiak, where you would actually take players and there are specific routes that you want them to run. And the way that you dress up the offense, I got a chance to see Sean do that with Michael Thomas, and we had Traquan Smith and Jared Cook and Emmanuel Sanders, and then we had Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray. So we had a super dynamic offense the year out in 2020. I think we were number 1 seed in the NFC. So I got a chance to see him use all those weapons. Take us inside that meeting with him where he is talking about you being the Joker, because I saw you post the Joker on Twitter after you signed. So I was like, all right, he must have laid it out in terms of how he wants to use the offense without giving us, all the details. How did Sean just kind of lay out the vision for you?
Yeah, like it was just super cool because one,
you came on a visit. Talk a little bit about the visit.
Benny broke the internet. You and Evan broke the internet with that. And the Toyota chat's joking in here, Benny, that right when Evan said Sean's name, it cut out. Sean maybe doesn't want this coming out.
He's got the cameras tapped. He knows what's going on. He's like, absolutely not. Don't tell him my plans.
Yeah, exactly.
So he had the power shut off.
Except Sean, what Evan has to say about you won out to the world. So let's hear that. Let's start where we ended off right there with Benny's question and Evan's answer.
Where he is talking about you being the Joker, because I saw you post the Joker on Twitter after you signed. So I was like, all right, he must have laid it out in terms of how he wants to use the offense without giving us, all the details. How did Sean just kind of lay out the vision for you?
Yeah, like it was just super cool because one, like Sean is like that super cool, chill, laid back uncle that like you could just go to and talk to about anything. Like
with his Jordan on.
With the J, like bro had this full Jordan jumpsuit on, vibing. And it was really cool because it was really organic. I didn't walk in the office and we just got right to football, and that's what it was all about. Like we got to know each other and we got, had a really good conversation. He was very personable with my wife and got to know her as well. And that meant a lot to me. And so, but when we did get to the ball, everything that he's been looking for in that type of position that I play is me, is what I work for, the things that I want to do within the offense, the skill set that I bring, and even some of the things that I maybe haven't done a lot in the past. I have that drive to learn what that is, what are the details, what are the ins and outs of that, and then I'm going to attack it, full head of steam. And so, the tweet that I put out was a cool, just kind of embracing of the moment. But that's what he was looking for. He's looking for that player that can be a jack of all trades, really. And it was really interesting because as I was supporting Davis as well, we'll watch their games, and there'll be a lot of crossover film from Denver throughout my season in Jacksonville and stuff. And I'd catch their games on TV, and just naturally, me just watching ball, I always like to put myself in the game, and watching their offense, and watching the way they're trying to spread the ball around. Like it was evident that that I could my skill set can be used within the offense, and so it was just really cool to hear the vision that he had for me and the excitement that I have to attack that full head of steam. Because there are a lot of things that I do really well within that world right now. And I think, a big part of it as well was, becoming more of a vertical threat within the offense too. I think in Jacksonville, I was kind of a master of the underneath game, which is big for offenses. It's big for young quarterbacks. It's big for staying ahead of the chains, and I love that role in that offense, and I'm going to continue to I'm going to continue to be great at that and be great at whatever I'm asked to do. But I think the vertical presence that he mentioned and brought to the table, and the vision he had for that was really big for me too, because I do have that part of my game, and I kind of ready to be unleashed in that aspect, and just the vision that he has for that is that Joker role. And I love the narrative of just the superhero, the super villains. I love superhero stuff. I love Spider-Man, Batman, Joker, all that stuff. So it's definitely cool. I love creating the narrative for myself to put a little bit of healthy pressure on me too. So just something I'm going to fully embrace, and whatever I'm asked to do, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability.
I love that, bro. Yeah. The shallow routes is something that I was watching your Jacksonville film last night and earlier today, just thinking and just watching your progression. I definitely remember, I don't know if it was a quick out or a shallow route. We were playing in Tampa, bro, and you took it 75. So I know that part of your game. But then I was watching some of your film and I saw this, y'all were in a bunch formation in Jacksonville. This is last year playing the Packers, and you give my man a little at the line of scrimmage, and then run the corner route and then go up and get it. So I know you have that dynamic ability, and I can envision just you on the outside, Cortland on the outside, and then you got either Mims or Vele or Troy Franklin in slot working that. So I can see the dynamic ability that Sean is seeing as well, man. Last question is talk about Bo Nix and how excited you are to play with him, and did he have any involvement in the recruitment process?
Yeah, Bo was one of the first players from first player from Denver to reach out. He was in the building when I was there. We had lunch together, got to know each other briefly. But my biggest thing was just watching his tape. Sat down, I downloaded a couple games for the flight. Sat down and watched some more with Davis in the building. He has everything that it takes to be great in this league. And I think the biggest thing that stood out to me was his presence in the pocket. Is very calm, very collected. And when the pocket does break down, the plays he can make on his feet while having his eyes downfield is something that you have to continue to put great talent around, because that is a weapon. That is a true weapon. And then you look back to his college days, he's played a lot of football. A lot of these young quarterbacks come into the league now after, maybe sitting out their first year, balling for 2 years, and then they're already a top draft pick, they all have all the talent in the world, but it does take a lot of experience to, become great at that position. And that's something Bo has grown a lot through. He had a great college career. I think there was a little bit of adversity in there as well, where that he had to overcome at a very early part of his career. And that speaks a lot to me, just as somebody that's overcome a lot of things in their career, and just this poise that he plays with, the swagger that he plays with, and even having lunch with him, just kind of briefly, I think he was sitting down with one of the trainers, and they were having a conversation about just his throwing progression in the off season, and the little minor things that he's working on. That was music to my ears, just hearing the mindset, even just kind of as a fly on the wall. I wasn't really even in the conversation. I was just kind of observing him and his work ethic and his work process. I think when you put all those things together, there's something special there. And then obviously the rapport he has in the building, the way the coaches talk about him, it was something that really meant a lot to me as well. So really excited to get to work with Bo. He has a bright future ahead of him, and just whatever I can do to make his job easier, and to help him evolve as the great player that he can become. It's a great opportunity for myself.
Love it, man. Well, speaking on behalf of the alumni and Broncos country, man, we're super excited to have you here. Looking forward to seeing what you do on the field, bro, with Bo, and nothing but love and respect for you, your family, the way you go about your business, man. So we're super excited and appreciate you joining this one-on-one.
Appreciate you too, man. Proud of you too, bro. You're doing your thing, man. Definitely no surprise here. So I appreciate you having me on, and it probably won't be the last time.
No, for sure. No.
And that's only half of it. That's only half of the interview right there. And Evan, you're always welcome back on. Benny, incredible interview.
Man, I appreciate it. Evan did a great job. I think he gave us a lot of insight, and I know we're getting ready to dive into that. But just the growth of him as a person. I got to see him, I think, in year 2. I played with him year 2 and year 3, and he was really just learning how to be a pro and who he is now and the way he approaches the game. And he'll share a little bit about, his struggles and ups and downs in his time in New York in the first part of the interview. Just great to see his growth.
It's really cool to see his growth. And like you said, there's a lot more of that in the first part of the interview, which is going to drop right after this show ends. So let's break down this interview because there's so much in there. After I give a shout out to our friends over at Bet365, where after that interview, before the interview, but definitely after that interview, I am betting on all of Evan Engram's overs, over catches, over yards, over touchdowns. I'm talking double-digit touchdowns, 1,000 yards. The 1,000 yards, especially after what he said about Sean selling him on the vertical threat. He's getting his first 1,000-yard season this year. He's getting his second one next year, and you'll be able to bet on that over at Bet365, where you can also bet on the Masters, which is going on right now. Of course, Nuggets play tomorrow, Avs as well. Playoffs right around the corner. There's no better place for betting than over at Bet365, which is the official partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And if you scan the QR code on our screen, you can download it and then use that code DNVR365 when you sign up. Deposit $10, place a $5 bet, and you're going to get $150 in bonus bets when you use that code DNVR365, win or lose. So make sure to check them out and use that code DNVR365 over at Bet365. Must be 21 and older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply.
And Evan is going to have to move a long way to get to Denver. And he's probably going to have somebody send his car. But I bet if Evan has a Toyota, I'd imagine he's going to want to drive it himself. Because it's just so nice to be driving one of those Toyotas, a Tacoma, a Land Cruiser, a 4Runner. So many great options. And they're pretty nice to ride in, even if it is... I wonder how long that drive is. Got to be like 10, 15 hours. From Georgia?
Yeah,
20?
More than that.
Sorry, 20 hours.
Yeah,
20,
yeah.
25.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's 15 for me up to like basically the border. It's about that same distance the other way. Yeah, it's something like that. They've got so many options, 16 different hybrid vehicles, so many different off-road trucks, all these different things. 17 models with available all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. So if you're an off-roader or even if you're just like driving something smooth around the city like the RAV4 Grand Highlander, Toyota is the choice for you. You can visit your Front Range Toyota stores, a location near you, AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota and Boulder, Groove Toyota and Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East and Aurora, Stevenson Toyota West and Lakewood. Toyota, official automotive partner of the NFL, official vehicle of DNVR.
And let's show Benny and Evan all the love. Let's hit us with a thumbs up on this video. Make sure to subscribe, turn on alerts, because Benny is joining us every single week, like I said earlier, and he's dropping awesome interviews like this every single week as well. So you definitely want to smash that subscribe button and stay tuned. Again, once this show's over, stay tuned and go to the video tab on our YouTube, because we're dropping the full interview there right as this show ends. So make sure to just watch that one right after this and then subscribe to make sure that you don't miss any future ones. But we can't look any further because this interview was awesome, Benny. And there's so many different things and places to start here. Where do you want to go?
Man, when I reflect on the interview, and it was just a couple of days ago, like I said in the last segment, I think he's just done so much growth as a person and as a player. And he talks about that at the beginning of the interview and just who he is. But also just, it was cool to hear him take us inside the recruiting process.
Yeah.
And going back and forth from Denver to LA, then back to Denver, talking about how he was thinking about things. But there are a couple of things that really stood out. Sean's vision for himself.
Yeah.
The impact that Davis Webb had
100%.
in the recruiting process, being the quarterback's coach and just being now somebody who can advocate for this offense. And then also Bo. When we think about getting back to winning the AFC West, when we think about championship teams, championship culture, the quarterback and the star players on the team play an important role in the recruiting process. How did we win a championship in 2015 in Denver? How did we win the AFC West 4 years in a row when Peyton was here? This is a destination city when you have a great quarterback.
Yep.
And when your quarterback is able to sit in on recruiting meetings for free agents, that is going to drive people to come here. He picked Bo over Justin Herbert, who has been in the league a lot longer.
Yep.
Head coaches, pretty equal. Great head coaches, people that have winning pedigrees. But he picked the quarterback. He picked who he thought was the better quarterback in the better situation for him. And I think that's what really stands out in the interview to me.
And that's probably the best thing. On top of landing Evan, that sign right there is huge. And I love that Bo is in the recruitment process. He's the first one to reach out to him. He's getting lunch with him when he's on his visit here that day. But I love even more that that's not what sold Evan on Bo. It was watching the film by himself, making sure he downloaded the film for the flight, and then watching it with Davis. The film is what sold him, which it's what you said. He thinks Bo's the better option moving forward.
Yeah, he thinks Bo's incredible. He thinks Bo is dynamic, and he thinks he can continue to prolong his career here.
Yeah.
Playing with Sean, playing with Bo, playing in this offense, talking about the verticality speed or using his speed down the field and just being a dynamic playmaker. I still want to go inside. I want to know what Sean said, like in terms of Sean's words to him, because I know Sean is a seller.
Yeah,
That's what he likes to do.
Yep.
He likes to create these visions. And it's just incredible to see, man. And Evan, his growth. And then like now it's just getting us even more excited. Obviously he has to come in here and learn the playbook and work hard. But I think also he's always been a hard worker. But I think now it's more intentional. Now I think it's a little bit more focused. Now it's more focused on the body because his first couple years in the league, no one can keep up with him.
Yeah,
because I still don't think that people can actually keep up him from the linebacker position. But
4.42, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, 240.
I mean, you compare him to DT. DT's a receiver.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that, the way he carries the ball.
Yeah.
Him wearing number 88 when we were in New York together. So it's going to be incredible to see, man. And I think this was like an inside look in terms of Evan, his mindset, the way he handled certain things in New York, going to Jacksonville, having career years, and then who he is now as a person, as a husband now, and just him coming here to do incredible things and to win. He's not coming here. This wasn't some big lucrative contract, where he just, now he can sit back and coast. He's coming here to win. And Sean sold him on winning as well.
Yep.
And Bo sold him on winning as well.
Yep.
So shout out to Bo for,
Yep.
taking that role seriously as a quarterback.
Yeah.
That's big. Bo sees himself as a leader, because if he didn't see himself as the alpha or that captain on that team, he would have deferred to the coaches in terms of, hey, how do I approach this? No, Bo took the initiative. Hey, let me get Evan's number, reached out to him, had lunch, and then then Evan even talks about Bo and his process in the offseason, talking about, how many throws he's getting in, or, his throwing motion and just the intricacies and the mechanics of playing quarterback. So Bo's taking it even to the next level. And I think we're going to see both Bo's growth from year 1 to year 2. But I wouldn't be surprised if those guys are throwing here in the next week or so, with the weather in Denver being as great as it is right now. Man, it's going to be exciting.
So who was the quarterback when you guys were together with the Giants? He wasn't there for Eli, right?
Yeah, he was.
He was?
Yeah,
Okay,
he
so
had Eli. He had Eli his first year, the year I got there.
Okay.
And then half of the season.
Yeah.
My second year as well. So it's
he
between him.
He was drafted 2017. Davis Webb also in that 2017 draft class. And then Daniel Jones, I think, was 2019.
Yeah.
Okay, so then he got a little Daniel Jones. I thought it was interesting, when he said, like, it's music to my ears to hear that, because he's seen Eli. And it makes me wonder a little bit about Trevor Lawrence and, like, also
when you say it's music to his ears for what? In terms
like
of
when he says like he's working on his mechanics, he's doing all this sort of stuff. It's like, does Trevor not do that, or did Daniel Jones not do that? Because obviously he's seen Eli, and like Eli knows how to do all that sort of stuff. But I don't know. That was just a side thought. The big thing is, I mean, it's obvious what the pitch was. It was, we have a quarterback, and here's your role. Like, I'm Sean Payton. This is what we're gonna do. This is, you like all this underneath stuff, we're going to be able to send you deep too, as like a counter off of that. But also we're going to have the quarterbacks coach in the meeting. We're going to have the quarterback talk to you, because there's no way that Sean didn't tell Bo, like, hey, like, you got to help us out here. I even wonder if, like, when he's in the facility, if they were thinking, like, yeah, let's get Bo in there too, just so he, like, sees Bo, so he's around Bo. But I mean, those are kind of the two selling points when you try to sign a tight end is I've had this history with tight ends. You have the skill set to do this for me. And also, here's Bo, and we're just going to kind of dangle him in front of you until you say, yes, I'll sign.
Man,
I think a breath of fresh air for Evan is more so he got Eli at the back end of the career.
yeah.
Eli was definitely process-driven, Hall of Famer, so he got a chance to see that. But when you're so young, you don't always pay attention to that. I don't know how they sold him on the Trevor Lawrence thing when he got to Jacksonville.
Curious.
Also, when he got to Jacksonville, it was on a 1 year. It was a prove-it
That's
deal.
true.
So
And he proved
he's
it.
not necessarily paying attention to everything that Trevor Lawrence has going on because he's like, I'm here to have to secure my future first.
Yeah.
You know, and Trevor's a big part of Trevor's a big part of that, but he's not focused on, he's like, I don't know if I'm gonna be here next year.
Totally.
He knows Bo is gonna be here for the future.
But it's similar to like what you went through and Todd too, where it's like early on, here's Peyton Manning. This is how quarterbacks are. And then after that, it's like, whoa, this is life without Peyton Manning. This is what things look like.
It's the absolute worst.
Yeah. And so exactly. When we were Evan Engram, it's like, here's Eli Manning. And then it's like, oh, please, please, please give me one more of these before I have to leave the league.
Yeah.
And clearly, everything he said about Bo, he believes. I mean, he says he has special in him. He says he sees great things in him. And clearly, one of the biggest selling points from Sean was the Joker role. He probably said, look at Jimmy Graham. Look at Jeremy Shockey. Look at these guys that I've been able to work with from your exact position. And you're great, but I'm going to make you even better. Those 114 catches that you had 2 years ago in Jacksonville, if you have that with me, you're going to have 1,500 yards because we're going to be sending you deep. We're going to be getting you touchdowns. He probably looked and said, your career high in touchdowns is 6 in a season? No. You're going to have way more of that here. You're going to be our big play threat. So I think this was the most difficult thing for the Broncos in this was just getting that initial foot in the door. And they had Davis Webb right there. No one better. You hear Evan Engram talk about his connection with Davis Webb, called them best friends. Yeah. And they were only together for 1 year. But I have to imagine that first year in the NFL when you're a rookie, especially going to a place like New York, is that you do so much bonding with people that are close to you. And clearly he stayed very close to Davis Webb. I thought it was incredible that he said, man, I was watching the tape of the Broncos, could just staying close with Davis Webb over these past 2 years when Davis was here. And I just saw myself in that offense. So he had been seeing it. It was like he was just waiting for the Broncos to reach out. Because then what I thought was fascinating, he didn't say this word for word, but he very much hinted at it. The only reason he left that building on Monday without a contract is because the Broncos offer wasn't exactly where he wanted it to be. It did not seem like he wanted to leave Denver on Monday. It wasn't like he wanted to go see if the Chargers had something better. No, he kind of went to the Chargers and played them, used them to get what he wanted from the Broncos, and it does seem like he got that. So it really seemed like for both parties, right when the Jaguars released him, the Broncos said, we need this guy. And right when Davis Webb called him minutes after the Jaguars released him, it really feels like he said, that's where I want to be.
Yeah. I mean, you're hitting it right on the head with this. I'm also thinking about now just my career, but then also seeing other free agents go to different teams. And it is a little bit of an adjustment period. If you have somebody that you're familiar with or that you call a best friend, that makes the transition a little bit more smoother.
Yeah.
Now, if you have that best friend who's on the offensive side of the ball, who's in those offensive meetings, who can help you learn the playbook even faster, you get that much. You get that much better in the offseason. So I also think that's also critically important. Davis knows how Evan processes things in the huddle.
Yeah.
He's been in meeting rooms with him, sitting next to him. He can also give even more constructive criticism or challenge Evan in a different way, being in the huddle with him now, being a coach, and just relaying the message and the vision to Evan early on. I think that's also a super important part. I think when I was a rookie, Emmanuel was coming here in free agency, and Aqib Talib and TJ Ward and all those guys. But when I think about Emmanuel coming here, Peyton's playbook is very hard to learn, and you have to get up to speed fast. But imagine if he had one of his best friends who was who could relay that message or help him relate certain things or certain concepts because they already know each other.
Yep.
It can make it that much easier.
Man, such a good point. I only thought of it in terms of the recruitment process. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, just
Such a good point.
Davis is already helping him find a spot, taking the mental load off of something. It's hard for people to move to a different city. Now imagine moving to a different city and now you have to learn an offense. There's a lot of expectation. He said healthy pressure, which I love the mindset and the reframe of that. It's healthy pressure to do something great here. But now that cognitive load on him is actually some of that pressure is being taken off. And now he can just really focus on football and Davis can help him do that.
Yeah.
How much do you remember of like past offenses? It's like even going back to the Giants, and there was a team or two teams in between. Can you just remember all of like how that worked and how the words worked, or does that kind of fade away?
It doesn't fade away for me as much. A lot of offenses are very similar. If the offense to me doesn't make any sense, I wouldn't say I struggled to learn Kyle Shanahan's offense, but a lot of the words don't actually go together in Kyle's offense. A lot of our words when I was playing in Peyton's offense went together. So if we had 4 verticals, it always started with a J. Yeah. So jet was short hitches, which is a 5-yard route on the outside, and then we had 2 seams. And you'd have Jesse, which is a little bit longer word. Or you have not Jesse, you would have Jose, then you would have Jesse. So those routes on the outside would just be longer versions of the jet route.
Yeah.
So you had the J family, and then Peyton had Biggie Small menu. These are different menus of plays. One of Peyton's favorite movies is Top Gun. So we had a Top Gun menu. So you have, 707, 737, 767, 505. You'd have those types of menus of plays, and then we would just have our ice cream package, which would be on the ball, go ice cream, and we line up on the ball, and then you'd have either dice right or dice left, which is our 2x2 formations, and then he'd call plays. So you have go for Miami, or you'd have Beta, Dallas, you just have different plays. So I can remember all of those types of plays, or you'd have tower right, tower left, Florida right, Florida left, similar plays like that. In Sean's offense, you have Lucy, or you would have, all go special, blah, blah, blah.
So it would be as easy as just saying like, this was this somewhere else, because they would both just remember it that smoothly, hopefully.
Yeah. Sean's offense, though, he does have a lot of similarities in terms of play calls. So you'll have a transportation series. You will have your no huddle packages. He has packages for certain things to help you remember plays so you can play that much faster.
I think it's safe
Makes
to say
sense.
that you remember quite a bit of that, and this is just a
like a
little
flashback.
bit. Yeah. I think we could just give you the mic for an hour and you just tell us all the playbooks. And this is just a little bit of all of the insight that we're going to get from Bennie. So make sure to hit us with a thumbs up, subscribe. Again, this isn't just a one-time thing. This is every single week you're going to be getting this awesome content. And I'm thrilled to jump into the film with you and see everything you have to say in the offseason. And then once the season comes around, breaking down that film as well. So this is what we're getting with Bennie Fowler. We are so excited for it. And if you're excited, hit us with a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel to get every single video moving forward as well. And just shout out to Bennie. We're so pumped to have you. And man, that's such a good point about Davis Webb and what he's going to be able to do in this role, and what Bo was able to do. And just how about Sean himself? Not Sean just selling him on the role, but selling him as a person. Like Sean, clearly, like you said, a good salesman, but how much that meant to Evan when he got in the room, and it wasn't just, okay, here's your role. Do you want to sign the contract here? It was the laid back, cool uncle that you can just hang out with, wearing the Jordan jumpsuit, and getting to know his wife, which he said was important to him as well. That's why it's for me, it's trust in Sean. Really, any move moving forward. There was the sentiment with Elway during those first 4 or 5 years when he was a GM here, where he could do no wrong, and it was just like trust in John. That's what Sean has for me now, at least. I think he has that with pretty much all of Broncos country. It's, man, trust in Sean, because if he wants something, he's going to get it. And if he wants Bo Nix, he's not going to try to mess around and trade back into the second round to draft. No, he's just going to draft him at 12, take the criticism, and then prove everyone wrong who criticized him.
Sean doesn't listen to anybody anyway. And if you want to argue with him, he'd happily have a debate with you about why he does things. And then he's going to let you know that he's way smarter than you and has way more experience than you. So I don't think he actually cares about the criticism at all from anyone.
No.
If he does see it, it'll piss him off. But he also doesn't care in terms of like how it's not going to affect his decision making. And I think he has a vision for what he wants on offense, defense, and special teams. And it wouldn't be a surprise to me in terms of what Evan shared about the recruiting process. I bet you he did that with Talanoa Hufanga, and Sherfield, Dre Greenlaw, in terms of sitting down with them, sitting down with their families. I think all of them who signed their free agency contracts had their family in those pictures.
Yeah.
So that's important. Building rapport, building culture, wanting people to come here and play. Yeah, Sean's going to be a hard coach, but that's what you're supposed to do. But also he has that other side to him in terms of, I see you for who you are. Bring your family, want to meet your wife, want to meet your kids, and let's get to work. Now that's over. The contracts have been signed. It's time to get to work here in the next couple of weeks with the draft and then OTAs. And then now we're going to start, these guys are going to get up to speed and get up to speed fast.
Yeah. And the pitches are harder, I think, for Greenlaw and for Hufanga. Again, like it's easy when it's Evan Engram and you say, look, you're one of the best receiving tight ends in the league. Here's what I've done with guys like you in the past. Guess what? We have Bo Nix too. With Hufanga, I think that's trickier. I think that you have to get into the weeds a little bit more to try to convince him that this is like a system that fit. And maybe it is as easy as, look, we got Pat Surtain over there. We've got Nick Bonito, who's rushing passer. We have another all-pro and Zach Allen. Like, this is a really good defense, and you're the final piece. Or similar with Dre Greenlaw.
Top 5 defense.
Yeah.
Take us to number 1.
Yeah, exactly. That's gotta be what you say, right?
Yeah. I mean,
I can't think of anything
if
else.
I was Sean,
yeah,
how would I have sold those guys? We were top 5 defense. We were 10-7.
Yep.
Come here and take this defense to the next level.
Yeah.
If you're Talanoa Hufanga, you're going to play with the best cornerback in the NFL. Do you know the opportunities that you will be able to jump or steal because you don't even have to worry about the left side of the field?
Yep. And you blitzed more than almost any other team in the NFL. For a guy like Hufanga, that's what he's all about. Like, get him in the backfield, weaponize him. There's another little selling point.
Yeah. And then Dre, come
Totally.
take this culture and linebacker room to the next level. We need this type of dog mentality, nasty mentality. And I bet Sean sold it just as much because he has to play against those guys.
Right.
And he's been watching those guys at Fox, and then he had to coach against those guys. I think he probably coached against Greenlaw maybe last year in New Orleans or
he would have
2020 or 2021. So he probably has coached against these. So he knows that, and he knows what they can bring.
And then on top of that, as important as Bo was in this recruiting process for Evan, I think Bo's almost just important in the defensive guys too. If they're really having Bo be this integral for an offensive guy, then they believe that he's a selling point for defensive guys as well. Because remember you talked about it. TJ Ward, Aqib Talib, DeMarcus Ware, those were defensive guys that were brought over in the Peyton Manning era. And you better bet it was because of Peyton was there. Even though they weren't going to be catching the ball from Peyton, it was because they knew they had the guy on the offensive side. So let's do what we need to do on defense because we know the offense is going to be fine.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's so easy to sell a free agent if Peyton Manning's a quarterback. Hey, we're going to win 12 games minimum.
Yeah.
If you come here. That's the minimum that we're going to win.
Yeah.
Not only that, you're going to have plenty of opportunities because our offense, we just led the league in scoring. So you're going to have plenty of offense or opportunities on defense, and then it's easy to sell DeMarcus Ware.
Yeah.
We're going to score 35 points a game. You're going to be able to rush passer, like just pin your ears back and go after the quarterback because we're going to be winning so many games. And then TJ Ward, opportunities to, really shift the culture and do things on a winning team, and then Emmanuel Sanders, it's like that's easy to sell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to catch passes. Don't get me wrong. Now, I'm not going to disrespect Alex Smith, but do you want to catch passes from Alex Smith or Peyton Manning?
Well, and you hear the recruiting video or the recruiting story from Emmanuel. He was actually in the Chiefs building, close to signing a contract with them in free agency. And good setup. Alex Smith, Andy Reid brought stability to that. And then his agent calls him, says, the Broncos want you. And the way Emmanuel tells the story is he couldn't get out of that building fast enough. And Andy Reid's like, whoa, why are you leaving right now? And he's like, I got to go. And then he immediately made his way to Denver. Couldn't have got to Denver fast enough and signed that contract because of Peyton. And that's why I think this Evan Engram signing is so big for the Broncos is Bo already is selling players on his talent. But this year is going to be so big. That jump from year 1 to year 2. And so you want to make sure that Bo has every opportunity around him to succeed. And honestly, of guys that were available, whether it was in the draft, whether it was in free agency, whether it was in a possible trade, Evan Engram might be the best option to help Bo, because he's going to be, Sean talks about that inner triangle. He fits that exactly. He's a short option, or he can do damage in the short game, but also now Sean wants to unlock him vertically. Evan Engram might truly be the best pickup the Broncos have made for Bo Nix in this transition from year 1 to year 2.
He might be the most important offensive player who isn't Bo. Like that, I mean, there's a real case for it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's him or Court, and then, or maybe you pick a lineman, but I probably wouldn't.
I would say he is the most important.
I would say so too.
Yeah, I mean, because you know what you have in Cortland. You know what you have. But we haven't had a dynamic tight end like this since Julius.
All right, we're going to continue this conversation over at thednvr.com, hitting overtime to round out this conversation. And like you said, I mean, Julius, that is like...
Who will be a guest here pretty soon.
Oh,
yeah, him and Emmanuel.
Oh,
So, I was
let's
texting Emmanuel about this
go.
yesterday. He said, whatever you need. So we got to make it, see if we can make it in person for him. But yeah, I think we should maybe do like a receiver breakdown with Emmanuel.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I'm not going to throw any other names out, but behind the scenes, Benny just every single day, like every 5 minutes, he's just like, oh yeah, this guy too, this guy. So that's why you have to subscribe. It's going to be just incredible what you bring,
Yeah,
Benny.
subscribe, because we're going to be giving tickets away. I'm going to get personal tickets, the tickets that I usually get for every home game, being an alumni and being a part of the Champions Club. I will only be giving them to subscribers. So people have to subscribe to the DNVR podcast and DNVR for the ticket giveaways that I will be doing this season. And then maybe next season for the Nuggets, I have some buddies who have some courtside seats. So maybe we could throw something in there as well.
This is too freaking... I just subscribed. Can I have some tickets? That is too cool. And speaking of tickets, 2 weeks from today, we're having our draft party over at Stoney's. We want you there. Come hang out with us. I believe we just drop the price as well. So scan the QR code on our screen, go to thednvr.com/events. And speaking of tickets, we're giving away 2 tickets to the season opener to people that are there. So make sure to come over there. And man, Benny, it is so cool to have you officially on board.
I'm excited, man.
I knew this was going to be an awesome day for us, but the coolest thing is I knew that all of our listeners were going to absolutely love it because of how much they've loved you over this past month being on. It's awesome. We're so pumped to have you.
I'm pumped to just be here, man, talking football, Broncos country. You know, we're going to be breaking down some film. I know Henry's, I gave him the PFF login, so he's getting ready to go crazy.
I'm just going to be sitting on a couch watching golf and looking at it's incredible.
Looking at film.
Oh, man. And the full interview is out now. So again, just go to DNVR Sports on YouTube. It's in the video section, and it's about 25 minutes long. So watch the whole thing, because we only played half of it, and that half was just absolutely incredible. So you're going to want the whole thing. You kind of get more of well, first off, you find out your nickname, which we'll spill the beans on your nickname maybe next week after everyone watches that video. And you get more of the story of Evan Engram and how he got to this point, which is really, really cool. So you're going to want to check that out. Hit us with a thumbs up. Hit Benny with a thumbs up. Especially go to that video and hit it with a thumbs up to show Benny that you love the new player's perspective that he's bringing to our show and our platform. And Benny, welcome to the crew. I'm so pumped for it, and I know everyone is.
Let's go, man. Excited.
Let's go. Make sure to just go over to thednvr.com for the entire interview, and of course over at DNVR Sports on YouTube. Thank you, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow, 11 a.m., and welcome Bennie Fowler.
We all silly like the mayor.